What is going on, my super sandwiches? Rhymestyle here, and today I want to talk about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, a game that's currently in production by Broly, otherwise known as CC2, the masterminds behind Storm. I know, terrible joke, Kakarot, whatever. So, before I get into the actual game, I want to talk about CC2 real fast because I saw something pop up yesterday that I kind of want to really talk about. So, as you guys may or may not know, CC2 was actually hired a couple years ago to help on the remake for Final Fantasy VII. Remember that game that's been talked about literally for years now, and we have yet a chance to even play it? We might get to play it next year. Apparently, the release date is like, what, April, March 2020, which is still a long time away, but hopefully that date doesn't change. Turns out, all the work that CC2 was quote-unquote unusable. It was bad. And I saw some people worried about how that's going to affect the production of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Like, if they're bad at doing that, what does that mean for Kakarot? Here's the thing. CC2, they're the wrong company to hire, honestly. I don't know why they chose them, but they're the wrong company to hire because CC2 makes only one specific kind of game. Like, what they've done with the Storm series is exactly what they're good for. And that's what they're doing in Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Now, as far as why they were hired to do basically that on Final Fantasy VII, I don't know. So it kind of makes sense that they're going to separate and go different ways because Square Enix, they do their games, you know, a specific way right now, like what we saw with Final Fantasy 15. But what they were doing with, you know, with the Storm series and what they're doing with the Kakarot series, I think is spot on. They're good at that. But doing anything outside that realm, it's like,
I don't know about that.
So I kind of want to talk about that because I saw some people worried about, you know, the fact that they got fired from doing the Final Fantasy VII remake, and does that mean that this game is going to suck? Now, it's not to say this game's going to be 100% good, because for all you know, it might be bad. It is a different type of Dragon Ball game, and I mentioned this many years ago. The beauty of Dragon Ball games is every single year, or every couple years or so, depending on what the sequels look like, we get a unique Dragon Ball game. It's always a different experience than the one before. You know, we had Dragon Ball Fusions, we had the Xenoverse series, we had Fighters, now we have an RPG game, which is awesome. It's literally Legacy of Goku on consoles, and I'm really there for it. Now, something I want to point out is something that people should avoid is falling into that trap of expecting what they think they're gonna get. That makes sense. If you're going into this game expecting to get something like Fighters, which, I mean, I don't know how you would get that, you're not gonna get that. If you're expecting a Xenoverse, you're not gonna get that. I know it kind of looks like Xenoverse, it's kind of got that 3D arena style fighter, but it's not Xenoverse. If anything, it is a more dumbed down Xenoverse. It's like if Xenoverse was right here in terms of like mechanics, and Battle Z was right here, and then Ultimate Tenkaichi is like right here, this game is kind of like right here in the middle. It's like a basic RPG game. It's a single player game. There's no multiplayer. I don't know if they plan on adding it into the future or what, but it is a single player based game that tells the story of Goku, aka why it's called Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. So kind of know that when you're going into it. A lot of people were like, you know, saying stuff like, oh, I can't wait for multiplayer. I can't wait to play as my favorite characters, yada, yada, yada. You're not going to get that. And if that's not the type of game for you, that's perfectly okay. Again, the beauty of Dragon Ball games is we always get a different kind of game. Now, of course, if you're not into those kind of games, that means that you have to basically wait a year or so before you get the next game that you might potentially want to play and kind of invest your time in. It's a gift and a curse. You know, I think it's great. You know, if you look at other genres in gaming, there have been situations where you've gotten the same game over and over and over again, and it got to the point where it could have been good, but then it get to the point where you kind of get stale out. Like, for example, Call of Duty for me was a really fun series early on. Like Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3 were like some of my favorite Call of Duty games. But after that, they didn't really do anything different at all, and it got to the point where I personally got burned out. Now, something else I want to talk about is the last couple years in Dragon Ball games, we had a unique, air quotes unique, an original story. We grew up with the Dragon Ball Z story for the longest, you know, from playing the Rage and Blast games to Tenkaichi to the Budokai. We played through the story. We rewatched the anime probably hundreds of times, so we know how the story goes. So when we went into the unique story with Xenoverse, Fighters, you know, and Fusions, there were a lot of people who were showing a lot of interest in that, myself included. I love the fact that we got something different, because like I said, we know the story. And when those games started doing something new, there were a crowd of people that were like,
no, go back to the old stuff. I want to play through the original story for the 10,000th time.
Which is perfectly okay. But now that we're going back to, the original stuff, the same people that were used to basically the Fusion story, the Fighter story, the Xenoverse story, like the original stuff, are now like,
No. We played the old stuff. Why are we going back to the old ways?
Come on, let the people have that. You know, what I noticed in the Dragon Ball community is when one side of the fandom is happy, the other side isn't. When 2D Fighter fans get their 2D game, the 3D Fighter fans are upset. When the 3D Fighter fans get the 3D game, the 2D fans are upset, and vice versa, and so on and so on. It is perfectly okay to be, I guess, raging and critiquing and being angry that XYZ is happening. But overall, like I said, looking at this game at like a super neutral stance, because I play all the Dragon Ball games, I'm excited for it. But I'm also worried for it. You know, like I said, it's a very ambitious game. for the first time ever, they're giving us that super explorable game. Explorable, is that a word? Explorable game that lets you free roam as Goku. You fish, you level up. It's literally Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku on console. Now, there's a couple things I want to point out. Is I did notice that the combat does seem a bit questionable. It looked really good. I mean, what these trailers do really, really well is selling these games to us. And then obviously when we get the actual games to play, you're like,
this is not what I thought it was gonna be.
Now, I'm looking into Kakarot, knowing that this is going to be an RPG. It's going to be very, very dumbed down. You're not going to get super intense, crazy, in-depth moments. You're not going to get the fighters combos. You're not going to get the strategy and mind games that you see in Xenoverse. You're going to get an action RPG. If you ever played games like Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy, but in Dragon Ball. And I think that's actually a good idea. It's a good way to explore the Dragon Ball gaming series and potentially even beyond that. Some of the concerns I also saw was whether or not the game is going to go beyond Frieza. And like I said, look, I know Bandai will never show us everything all at once. If this game stops in the Frieza arc, they wouldn't have showed us Frieza in the first trailer, let alone the second trailer. They would not have done that yet. Because think about it. If they first reveal a game, because let's say that this is the official reveal at E3, they have months of showing us new stuff, new arcs and stuff like that. So like, we're gonna get into the Boo arc, we're gonna get into the Cell arc, we're gonna get into all that stuff, potentially even more. You know, I saw a question that was popped up during the interview whether or not we'll see like movie characters, and they didn't really answer the question. That one seemed more up in the air, and I can see I'm probably not exploring that because the key that they used were key phrases where it is the canon manga side of well, I guess they used the canon anime side of Goku's story. So we're gonna see stuff like that. Something that was really interesting though is there was a description I saw that popped up online that was like, it's also gonna answer many questions that people had in regards to like the lore of Dragon Ball. So it makes me wonder, like, are we gonna see Goku on Yardrat actually learn stuff like instant transmission? Are we gonna actually see the gaps that are filled in that, you know, have been missing in the story for like the last couple decades in the story of Dragon Ball? Because Toriyama is involved. Toriyama absolutely is involved. I don't know to what extent. For all we know, maybe Bandai and Toei might be actually come up with the story, and then Toriyama just gonna give him the thumbs up like he always does. But he is involved with the story, and apparently they are gonna fill in the gaps and a lot of stuff that we always wondered about the story of Dragon Ball. So again, even though it is the same Dragon Ball story that we grew up with, we are going to get extra stuff, and it's going to give us a different way of experiencing the story that we grew up with. Now, the question is how it's going to work at some points where Goku isn't the main character. Again, I don't really know. We did see in the actual trailer, or not trailer, but the gameplay that IGN posted that there was a character slot. And even in some of the missions, it said, play as Goku to do X, Y, and Z, which hints strongly that you get to play as other characters. Now, that doesn't mean that you're gonna walk in there playing as like Frieza and Cell and the villains. Most likely it's gonna stick to like the Z characters like we saw in the Legacy of Goku. So maybe switching into like Vegeta every now and then, Gohan, Piccolo, yada 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 yada. But like, this is kind of like one of those entry style games where I know that whenever they do Dragon Ball Super Kakarot, we're gonna get into more. I don't know if we're gonna probably see Beerus in there, let alone Golden Frieza, because Resurrection F and technically Battle of Gods were part of the Z story before they introduced Dragon Ball Super. If anything, if they do explore that, it's going to be in form of like DLC or something like that. Or for all I know, then maybe they are going to do it. I don't really know. What I want you guys to do is just keep your mind open, I guess, and I guess look into what they, I guess, release and announce as far as news about this game over the course of the next couple months. Now, I don't really do news on the channel as much as I used to, but I'm definitely going to cover this because I'm very, very interested. I want to see which way this game is going to go, as well as the franchise, you know, introducing this action RPG style play on console for the Dragon Ball series. Like I said, I'm a big fan of it. You know, I mean, you guys know me. If you subscribe to my channel for the past couple years, you know I kind of just play every Dragon Ball game, and I try to enjoy them for what they are. Now, the question I want to ask you guys right now is, number one, are you hyped for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot? If so, hit that thumbs up. Let's see how much, like, the like ratio in this video can be the hype train factor for the game, I guess. So hit that thumbs up if you're excited for the game. And two, what are some of your biggest concerns and things that you want to see in the game? You can just drop me a comment down below, because this is one of the, again, whenever I do my Let's Talk series, it's mostly to be kind of like talk about what's going on within, you know, XYZ in the Dragon Ball community, and kind of get your own thoughts about it. But other than that, you know, I'm really excited for the visuals. The thing that CC2 has always nailed is visuals. The Storm series, as far as like what they did in the later Storm games, as far as like balance, when they introduced stuff like, what was it, the counter and things like that, and like was Revolution, it was kind of questionable. But you can't deny that when you go through the story in those games, with the exception of the slideshow that we saw in Storm 4, but when we had the cutscenes, it looked beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. And everything else in this game, from like how the movement is when you're just exploring, shit, I will buy this game just to fly around. Just to fly around. Now, something else I want to talk about before I end the video real fast is the explorable aspect of the world. They're selling this as an open world game. It is not. It is like a semi-open world game. Now, if you guys saw the IGN gameplay, you can see my breakthrough or breakdown of it, you know, but just going back to my channel. But the way it works is you have different worlds within the Dragon Ball world that you kind of unlock. So you have like a mountainous area that you can fly around and explore and do all the missions in, side quests, main missions, stuff like that, you know, level up. Then you have like Planet Namek, you have probably City. They have like different, like, I guess, biomes, if that makes sense. So it's not like a world like in the Budokai series where you can fly from like world to world and just kind of like be there at all times. It's like you unlock different parts. So it's probably gonna have a mission where it's like, oh, you can fast travel to the ice area or fast travel to the island area, and then you have like a whole little biome that you can explore within that. Now it's kind of dope because it gives you like multiple, I guess, open worlds within the actual game, but it's not like open world. Open world means it's a giant sandbox. You can go anywhere you want at any point, like, you know, Skyrim, for example, or like the GTA series, and that's what open world is to me. But I kind of want to talk about that real fast because they're selling it as like a super open world game, but it's not. It's like semi-open world, if that makes sense. I know that is an issue to some people, but I do want to kind of bring that up because that was actually answered on the live stream that IGN did yesterday. But other than that, yeah, I'm curious to see how this is gonna go. The story of Goku, we know this for the most part, but the one I want to know mostly is what do they mean by we'll get those lifelong questions finally answered in regards to stuff that was like missing in the actual series and the manga and the anime. Like, again, if they show us like Goku and Yardrat learning instant transmission, I think that's gonna be kind of dope. You see stuff like that. In fact, in the comment section below, what are some questions that you want to see answered that we never got official answers to in the Z series, in the manga and the anime? Let me know down below. But other than that, that should be everything. So like I said, the second we find out more about this, I'm probably gonna try to get some gameplay at some point in the near future as well. I'll just fly up to Bandai and see, get my hands on it myself, and then I can actually give you an actual review of my own opinion of the game other than just seeing gameplay. Like I said, the gameplay looks cool, but until I play it, I don't really know what to expect. Because, like, I mean, I've seen past games that look really, really good until I played it, and then they were like, oh, yikes. I'll never forget, Ultra H did a great job selling that game, but when I finally bought that game, I'm like, oh, cool. So we'll see how it goes. But other than that, that's kind of everything. Again, if there's anything else I want to talk about this game, I'll make a video about it in the future. But overall, let me know your thoughts and everything discussed down below. Hit that thumbs up. My name is Rhymestyle. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.